everyone, it's Deb here from Deb's Greenhouse.
And Michael from HiQ Greenhouses.
And today we're going to talk about fuchsia plants.
Fuchsia plants. Look at this beauty over here. So this would be something that's available in store,
Right.
as well as a pre-order.
Yeah, people do pre-order fuchsias.
Yeah.
We grow in our baskets the giant fuchsias. So if you want to hold that a little closer, you can really see the gorgeous blooms. We grow, I think, 7 different types of giant fuchsias in these baskets, both in store and for the pre-orders.
Yes. So what happens is these fuchsias, a fuchsia actually likes a bit of shade.
They really need shade.
Yeah, they need shade. They need to be protected from the direct sunlight. Also, you know, an area where it's not as windy, because these giant flowers would just sway in the wind.
Yeah.
and break off. So you have to have it in a calm, shaded area.
It's early morning right now, so the fuchsias are super perky. This is a younger batch. We do a couple of batches of fuchsias. If we didn't, we'd be sold out within the first week and we wouldn't have any more. This is one of our younger batches of fuchsia baskets. So some of the, if you look in the center, there's still a whole bunch of stems and branches that are upright. As this fuchsia grows, those branches will become heavy with buds and they fall down. So it will look sort of bare in the center of these. That's completely normal. You're meant to hang this. So when you hang it, you have this beautiful chandelier of blossoms all around the bottom and a little bit higher up sometimes as well. That would be the expectation for giant fuchsias. If you have a different fuchsia variety, the little upright type would have the flowers on the top. They would just be a tiny little basket, much like someone stuck a little basketball in it.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't hang and grow out like this. So
No.
there are different varieties. Sometimes people have a different expectation. They're not quite sure what they're getting when they order the fuchsia basket.
Yeah, so the giants are clearly in a group by themselves, but any fuchsia, as we said, likes the shade and in an area where it's not that windy.
Right.
So, but what happens in the greenhouse is we only provide full light. you
So
know.
we're doing this video in the morning. It's about 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and but in the afternoon, after this same fuchsia basket has been hanging in the sun all day, some of the leaves might get a little droopy, you know, and then
They look totally wilted by like 2, 3 o'clock.
yeah, and then you go like, oh, I should maybe water this again. But before you do, you have to check the soil, you know, with your fingers. And if you touch the
Yeah.
soil and your fingers feel moist, then it doesn't need water.
And it's heavy. Like these have
Yeah.
been watered. This is well watered. It's watered enough for the whole day.
Yep.
Even though it's well watered, it will look wilty in the afternoon because we don't have shade here in the greenhouse.
That's right.
It's not intense enough sun right now to burn the leaves.
Correct.
In this time of year. If this was sitting here a month from now, mid-July, it would get a sunburn in the greenhouse, even if it was wet.
Yeah, and you would get that outside
Yeah.
because the light intensity is higher outside without the greenhouse cover that we have. So although it's full light, there's still a little bit of diffused light, you know, so we can keep them inside the greenhouse a little longer than you could keep them outside. So when you take them, you should hang them in the shade immediately to avoid burning.
That's
But
right.
also, if you have that temperate climate, the drooping will not happen, you know, as much. And it could on a hot day, or if the sun pokes through. But always check your basket, you know, for moisture.
Right.
Touching the soil, if your fingers feel moist at the fingertips, it's good. If it's light, or if your fingers feel dry as soon as you touch the soil, guess what? You should be watering it.
And the fuchsias, the reason they look wilty, even though they're wet, it's called transpiring. That is something that happens with plants. You know, we see it with a variety of plants. Even though they're wet, when they're super hot, it's kind of like sweating, I guess, almost. It's so hot they can't uptake the water,
That's
even
right,
though
quick
it's provided.
enough. Yeah, there's so many leaves and there's so many flowers that emit water, that release water, and the roots have to make that up. But sometimes they just can't keep up to the amount of transpiration that's happening.
So what you will notice is if you're in the greenhouse later in the day, like from 2 to 3, they're going to be wilty probably till about 5 o'clock. As it cools off, they perk back up again.
back up, that's
So if you're picking up your baskets or you're shopping for fuchsias in the afternoon, don't worry. In every greenhouse, they're going to look wilty even though they're wet.
Yes.
We do have some smaller fuchsias here that we have for sale as well. So we've got a couple of varieties. This is an upright type. It's a ballerina releve. This is the cute little tiny type that is just going to make a little itty bitty.
Yeah, like a little pom-pom, like a basketball, like you said.
Yeah,
yes.
like a little basketball.
This is more for the connoisseur. This is called Antonelle. And
no, this one is Tom West.
Oh, Tom West, sorry.
Yeah.
That's called Tom West.
We did have autumnal though.
Yeah,
We're out of
I
it,
have
but
it. Okay, you did have it. Okay.
So this is Tom West. This is more giant type in the trailing sense. It's a semi-trailing fuchsia.
But it doesn't get as big as the giants. Like
No.
So this one here
Look
is
at
called,
how tall it is.
Yeah, this is called Bella Rosa,
It's a
giant. Yeah, so it's one of the giants. Even in the basket, is where one of these is. And you can see by the size of the leaf and the size of the plant how vigorous it is.
And all of our giants are labeled giant on our bench.
Here's another giant, even though it's physically smaller. It's a seventh heaven. So it's a giant fuchsia as well. So you can expect large flowers and a big plant out of that.
So if you're planting giant fuchsias at home in a planter where you want to look down on them, put something in the center. We've done Dracaena grass spikes in ours, so that center's not completely naked, because it does look bare.
If you do put it in a planter.
In a planter.
Yeah.
If it's hanging, you don't see that.
No. And you don't need that, when it's hanging. And then last but not least, is a fuchsia called Gartenmeister. And it's a very upright fuchsia.
Super upright.
Yeah, and it makes clusters of orange flowers, beautiful orange flowers that hang straight down.
And they're very tubular. They're not the big fancy like ballerina type of looking
They're skinnier.
flower. They're a very skinny tubular flower. Now the amazing thing about fuchsias is if you have fuchsias, you will have hummingbirds. Hummingbirds love fuchsias. And it's the one thing you can grow in the shade that will definitely get hummingbirds into your garden.
Yep.
Now, another thing about fuchsias, you can totally overwinter these. Bring these pots inside before frost.
Yeah.
We're in Alberta, so that could be early September, could be late September before a hard frost.
Yeah.
And you can grow them indoors.
That's right.
Super easy.
In Europe, fuchsias are mostly sold as houseplants. Yeah. And you'd want to grow it in a south window once you do bring it inside.
Lots of sun, even though it's a shade plant.
That's right.
For the winter time.
In the house, it's a completely different scenario.
And I wouldn't expect any blooms from like October to February. Maybe by March they could start making some buds.
So you can expect flowers, no flowers from the end of October till about February. But it's wonderful to keep it in the house and just admire it as a bushy house plant. If you could put this inside, of course, you would have the beautiful foliage. As well to go along with the beautiful plant.
So thanks for listening to our fuchsia talk, and if you're out and about in greenhouses in the hot afternoon, not to worry if the fuchsias appear wilted even if they're wet.
Yep.
Thanks guys.
Bye.
Bye for now.